Hey, what's up guys, Swissmember here with the fourth and for now last tutorial of the Zeus mini-series on my channel. In today's video, as announced, I'm going to focus on the CPM Curator Presets Mod. This modification is created by Chessmaster42, and what it does is basically add additional features to Zeus, which you can use for your Zeus generated or enhanced scenarios. To enable this mod, you just have to download it and install it as any other mod you know from Arma3, so no additional coding in the editor is required. If you have installed the modification properly, you can find the CPM functions under the models category in the create section of your user interface. Here the functions are split up into three categories: common, system and unit. I'm going to split up this tutorial into three chapters, one for each of those categories, in which I will explain every function individually. Alright, let's get right into it and start with the common functions. The first function in the common section is called air flight. You can use this to set additional parameters for flying aircraft. Select the module and left click on the desired aircraft you want to use the function on, and then the edit window will appear. Here you can now choose the flight speed from limited normal to fast, as well as the altitude above ground in meters, in which the aircraft will travel from waypoint to waypoint. This is a great function to make sure that AI controlled aircrafts choose a bit more of a tactical and realistic flight path. Nothing more to explain here, moving on to the artillery function. This module lets you create fire missions for AI controlled artillery via the Zeus interface. So if you prefer to play more realistically and have actual artillery units in the game fire rounds at a specific target instead of just using their fire support module from Zeus, this is the way to go. Obviously you will have to spawn an artillery unit first. I choose the NATO M4 Scorcher, and you also need a target location. I intend to shoot at the main airfield. Important here is the grid location. This module uses a 10-digit grid system. The first 5 numbers are for the horizontal axis and the second 5 for the vertical one. The Arma3 map though works with a 6-digit grid system. I choose the target location exactly on the crossing line of two grids. So here the 6-digit grid reference will be 142163. But this is only a reference for a 100 on 100 meter grid. To get a more accurate target location, I will have to add 2 additional numbers for the horizontal axis as well as the vertical one. So for the horizontal axis, as example, I just add 2 numbers to the 142, which I already have. So in this example, because the target location is exactly on the line, it stays 14200. Let's say the target location would be 50 meters to the right. It will be 14250. So the last 2 numbers are basically the meters from 1 meter to 99 meter before the next grid starts. When I do the same thing for the vertical axis, I get my 10-digit grid number, which is used in this module. So the target location reference I will have to use afterwards is 14200-16300. To use the artillery module, I have to select it and then click on the vehicle icon of the desired artillery unit. Here now I can enter those digits: 14200-16300. X-axis is horizontal, Y-axis is vertical. Now I can choose the desired ammo type. The list will automatically be adapted to the particular vehicle you're using. I can choose the number of rounds, hit OK, and the AI gunner will automatically start aiming and execute the ordered fire mission. Let's move the camera over to the target location and see if that actually worked and how accurate it is. Main difference here compared to the fire support module is that the rounds actually take some time to travel to target. So here I cannot just select the fire mission and 5 seconds later the rounds are here. It's going to take a while. I'm going to cut the video here so we don't have to wait for the impacts, but I want you to be aware of the fact that the rounds do actually travel from firing position to target. In this particular example, it took about 65 seconds until I saw the splash when recording this. That worked out pretty well. Proper ammunition was selected by the AI, and also the target location was hit pretty accurately. Moving on to the next function. The damage unit components module lets you define damage values for a specific part of an aircraft, vehicle or infantry unit. Select the module and click on the specific unit you want to set damage values for, and then choose the component from the automatically generated list. Use the adjustable bar to set the damage value from 0 to 1, where 0 means no damage and 1 means full damage. For this example, I selected the tail roller of this aircraft. I'm going to set it to a pretty high damage value. When I hit OK, you can see the tail roller stops, so it has full damage, and the helicopter automatically starts rotating because the anti-rotation rotor is no longer working. When I use the remote control module for this unit, you will see the damage indicator on the top left corner indicating that the tail roller is out of business. When I use this module on the ground vehicle, I will have another automatically generated list of components which I can set damage values for. In this example, I set the left track to about 80% damage, and when I use remote control now, we'll see the effect in the damage indicator as well as the vehicle's performance. Same goes for infantry units. Again, the module will automatically generate a list of components appropriate to the unit that is selected. In this example, I set the unit's legs to a pretty high damage value, which means it can no longer sprint. The spawn garrison module is definitely one of my favorites of this modification, because with just a few mouse clicks you can occupy one building, a smaller compound, or even an entire village with enemies or friendly units. Select the module and left click on the location where you want to use the garrison module on. It will automatically generate the grid location with X and Y axis. Then you can choose the radius of the spawn area as well as the density. I advise you to keep the density value down to 20, maybe 30%. It will already spawn quite a few enemies that way. Now you have to choose the side of which you want to spawn units from and hit OK. The module will automatically select random house positions within the radius you have selected and spawn infantry units off the predefined side. So this way you don't have to place every single unit individually and place them in buildings, add them to first floor, second floor and to individual rooms. You simply use that module and the enemies will be added to the buildings within your AO. What the module doesn't do is create random patrols outside of the buildings or even vehicles. It just adds infantry units inside buildings. What you can do is add additional units, or you can just drag and drop some units out of the buildings if you see the density is too high. So also that way it's a lot easier and especially faster to occupy an AO with enemies or a specific location with friendly units. You can obviously also give the units waypoints, which will make them leave the buildings and patrol around, or simply delete some of the entities if you think the module has spawned too many. The vehicle disembark function lets you give AI units a more defined disembark order. In this example, I have a marshal as well as a 4-man fire team, which are not in the same group. To have the infantry board the vehicle, I simply give them a waypoint on the vehicle's icon, and it will load up. I can now give the vehicle a waypoint order, which will make it move. And once they arrive at the desired location, I can use the module to give a specific disembark order. I have to select the module and click on the vehicle icon, and now I can choose if I just want the passengers to disembark, or the crew, or everyone. I'm going to use passengers now because I just want that infantry fire team to disembark. And now I have the two groups separated again, the marshal with its crew as well as the infantry team, and I can give them specific waypoints. Alright, those are the 5 functions included in the common category. Let's move on to the next chapter and have a closer look at the system category of the CPM mod. Inside the CPM system category, you only have 3 functions. The first one is the CPM config, which is something like a debug mode. I cannot exactly tell you what it does. Usually debugging on means that script errors and things like that will be shown, so it's easier for you to identify an error and find a solution for it. You can place the module anywhere on the map in your mission, turn it on or off, but again I cannot exactly tell you what it does. The Task Force radio module requires the Task Force Arrowhead radio modification for ARMA3. This modification is used in combination with TeamSpeak 3 and simulates realistic radio traffic amongst players. The CPM module here lets you select if you want players to spawn with long-range radios as they do in default, or if you want to disable that feature. And you can also choose if you want all units of a specific site to spawn with the same type of radio for shortwave and long-range radio. By default, and included like that in the Task Force Arrowhead radio mod, every faction has their specific radios with a specific codec. This way, a independent unit cannot hear what's happening on the Blue 4 radios, even if that unit is on the same frequency. By enabling this module function here, you can make sure that all units of the same faction use the same radio type and therefore the same codec, which lets them communicate with each other. This way you can prevent confusion and misunderstandings when people start selecting their own radios from boxes and whatnot. It might be easier for you if you use that module and make them spawn with compatible gear. The last function in the systems category lets you enable the VAS virtual ammo box system script for any box you've spawned in the editor. First though, you have to spawn a box, so select unit and then go to the empty category, go to ammo and spawn one of the default boxes. You can clear out its inventory if you want to, but it's not absolutely necessary. Now select the CPM module and click on the ammo box's Zeus icon. This will enable the VAS script on this particular box. When approaching the box as a player and looking at it within a certain range, the virtual ammo box action becomes available and you can open the script. Important to know here though is that that script is not included in the CPM mod. You will have to enable the script as usual for your particular mission, but instead of having to pre-create the VAS box in the editor before mission start, you can do it on the fly and you can change locations and spawn VAS boxes wherever you want. This is only theoretically though, because the testing I did so far in multiplayer did not work out that well. When I spawned the box, it always worked for me. I had the script available, but other players in the same mission saw the box and everything but could not trigger the VAS action. I'm not sure if it's an issue that only occurs on my missions because it may be a conflict with another script or modification, or if it's an actual bug which might be fixed in one of the future updates which come really regularly for this modification. Either way, I'm going to add a link to the download page for the VAS script as well as Task Force Radio in the description below. In the last chapter of this tutorial, we're going to have a look at the unit category of the CPM modules. With the unit action module, you can have a specific unit, an entire group, or even an entire faction perform a specific action. There is a sheer endless list of actions available, but quite frankly, I didn't get a lot of them to work. But it's probably just me not really understanding what it's supposed to do. Either way, you'd select the module and then click on the unit. After that, you can select one of many actions from the list and then choose if it's just supposed to be applied to that particular unit, to a group, or to an entire faction. Press OK, and if you choose an action that is actually working with this unit, it will perform that. In this case, the unit is 3D'ing itself. The unit animation module is still work in progress, so when you use it, you get an error message that says animation module not implemented yet. The unit chat module lets you create chat messages. You can choose group side or global channel to define who's going to be receiving that message. So when I use group chat now, I'm not going to see anything because my character is not in the same group as this AI unit, which is actually sending that message. But when I use the side chat, it's going to be visible to me too because I have a blue 4 unit. The unit recruitable module is a pretty neat feature because you can set AI units as recruitable and then players can walk up to them and choose an action and basically make them become members of their group and order them around afterwards. After selecting the module and clicking on a AI unit's icon, you can then define if the recruiting option is just going to be available for that particular unit or for all the units of its group or even the entire faction or side. Once the module is enabled, you can then as player walk up to a particular unit and select the scroll menu action that says recruit and the name of the unit. Once that is done, as you can see, the unit is now in my group and I can order it around or just have it tag along with me. With the unit skills module, I can very specifically set skill parameters for one unit in particular, a complete group, or even the entire faction. This is a great tool because personally I think that the AI in ARMA3 is quite a bit overpowered. They're way too accurate on long distances and this pisses me off occasionally. With this tool right here, you could, for example, change the aiming accuracy or the aiming speed and things like that, and therefore make the game a bit more immersive. With the unit surrender module, you can basically issue out an order to one particular unit, a group, or an entire site to surrender themselves over to the opposite faction. I guess it's best used though when you play some sort of HVT scenario where the players have to capture a specific high value target of the enemy side, and then once they get close and hopefully don't kill them, you as Zeus can enable that module on this dude, which will make him go into the surrender animation. The module will remove the unit's weapons and basically make it a civilian, and then the players can walk up to that unit, and it's kind of similar as with the recruitable units module. You can then take over control and the unit will follow them around and follow their orders. The last CPM function in the unit category is unit teleport. Usage is pretty simple. Select the module, click on the unit you want to teleport, and then this window will appear. Use the 10-digit grid system as we have seen it before with the artillery module. Hit OK and the unit will be teleported to that location. As an example here, I use the exact same grid location as with the artillery model, and when we check that location now, we can see that the unit has actually teleported over here. I don't really understand the point of it on AI units, because as Zeus you can just drag and drop them to the new location, but maybe this feature is actually working with human controlled players, so actual player characters. Maybe you can use that to teleport them to another location, but I have not tested it in multiplayer, so I can't tell you for sure. The last CPM feature is not an actual function or module, but I'm still going to show it because it can become important. Occasionally CPM bugs out and the categories as above do no longer appear or are listed a bit differently. Should this happen, select the CPM failsafe reload function from the Zeus category and just click somewhere on the map basically. This will reinitialize all the CPM functions and make them available again. Alright people, this concludes the fourth and for now last tutorial of this mini-series about the free Zeus DLC for ARMA3 as well as the CPM Curator Presets modification by Chessmaster. I hope the content I've shown and the explanations along with it were helpful to you and hopefully inspiring and motivating to actually use Zeus for completely Zeus generated missions or just as an enhancement for your regular editor created missions. As I said, for now this is the last tutorial of the series. Maybe in the future, if Zeus receives a major update and more or other Zeus related modifications come out, I will do updated videos, additional videos and things like that, but I'm not going to promise anything at this point. Alright, thanks a lot for watching the series or any other of the videos on my channel or the videos I create for armaholic.com. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, check me out on Facebook, Twitter, Steam, Twitch or Google+, and I catch you soon. My name's Zeus Maverick, bye bye. Hey, what's up guys, Zeus Maverick here with the fourth and for now last tutorial of the Zeus mini-series on my channel. In today's video, as announced, I'm going to focus on the CPM Curator Presets Mod. Into 3 chapters, one for each of those categories, in which I will explain every function individually. Alright, let's get right into it and start with the common functions. The first function in the common section is called air flight. You can use this to set additional parameters for flying aircraft. Select the module and left click on the desired aircraft you want to use the function on, and then the edit window will appear. Here you can now choose to fly. This modification is created by Chessmaster42, and what it does is basically add additional features to Zeus, which you can use for your Zeus generated or enhanced scenarios. To enable this mod, you just have to download it and install it as any other mod you know from ARMA3, so no additional coding in the editor is required. If you have installed the modification properly, you can find the CPM functions under the models category in the create section of your user interface. Here the functions are split up into 3 categories: common, system and unit. I'm gonna split up this tutorial at speed from limited normal to fast, as well as the altitude above ground in meters, in which the aircraft will travel from waypoint to waypoint. This is a great function to make sure that AI controlled aircrafts choose a bit more of a tactical and realistic flight path. Nothing more to explain here, moving on to the artillery function. This module lets you create fire missions for AI-controlled artillery via the Zeus interface. So if you prefer to play more realistically and have actual artillery units in the game fire rounds at a specific target instead of just using their fire support module from Zeus, this is the way to go. Obviously you will have to spawn an artillery unit first. I choose the NATO M4 Scorcher, and you also need a target location. I intend to shoot at the main airfield. Important here is the grid location. This module uses a 10-digit grid system. The first 5 numbers are for the horizontal axis and the second 5 for the vertical one. The ARMA3 map though works with a 6-digit grid system. I choose the target location